Good afternoon, everyone from Dunrovin Ranch in Ludlow, Montana. It is a lovely day in Dunrovin. We're having a very nice, warm, but not too hot spring day. Everything's starting to green up or has greened up, except our own pastures, which we seeded rather late. So we're a little bit behind time with regards to the pasture coming along, and the horses are quite dismayed by that, by the way. So we've been having them go every night to one of our neighbors' pastures, and they've enjoyed that. But for today, as you will see here, they're in their stalls and are just waiting in the shade. We had a lovely couple come out this last weekend and put up their shade cloths, which will be overgrown with hops by the time it gets really hot here. So it creates a very nice shade area for our horses. The hops clean the air and they have a medicinal quality for horses. It calms them down. So if they happen to eat any part of their shade fence, it's good for them. It's a really cool thing to do, to plant the hops behind the horses. We call it hops for horses. As most of you know, this past week, we had a great event happen here, not actually at Dunrovin, but at the ranch where we have collaborated to buy some horses in the past and who bred their wonderful Belgian draft mare with their Tennessee walking horse stud. This is the same stud that was used to breed with Lonza to produce our horse Augie, and this is the two horses are the father and mother of our own gentleman Jax. So this last weekend we had another birth at the Kate Sousa Lazy Sousa Ranch. Jackie gave birth to a little filly. We're calling her Lady Lucy, and the reason for that is Lucy is derived from the word lux, which is Latin for the word light. And so this is in honor of her father. I have a movie or a video of the birth, so I will show that right now. This is the mare, Jackie. She is a Belgian draft horse, and she's just a lovely horse. She's really calm and kind, and you can see that the foal is just started to come out. Those are its hooves that are pushing out. And if you remember from the last time that we showed a birth, horses are precocious at birth. That means they're ready to go, which means their hooves have to be hard when they come out. But in order to protect the mother from a hard hoof, they are encapsulated in what are called fairy threads, which are just cartilage little threads that grow out of the bottom of the hoof. And as soon as the hoofs meet the air, they start to dry out, and they'll fall off within no time at all, within an hour or so of birth. But animals that are prey have to be ready to get up and go with their mothers. So horses are born ready to run, and that means their hoofs have to be hard. Now, the woman you see helping Jackie is the owner, Kate, and she has helped many a mare give birth. You can see her pulling on the legs with the head kind of hanging down. And she's trying to help the mare get those big shoulders out. That's the hardest part. There she comes. And of course, they pull the placenta off of the horse, but they don't pull the placenta out. It's very important that the placenta drop out by itself so that it doesn't tear. Now, this is my friend, Jan Carr. This is how I met these wonderful two ladies. Jan and I used to ride together all the time, and she and Kate have been raising Tennessee walking horses for quite some time. But Jan and I are about the same age and have had a lot of fun riding in the backcountry of Montana over the years. So This is the lovely Lady Lucy. And if you remember Gentleman Lux's birth, you can see the similarities right away. A really big blaze on her face. She's a Palomino. They're just wiping her up now. Very easy birth for Jackie. Kate does a really good job of helping her mares birth. They have about, I don't know, 12 foals a year, so she's very experienced. I'm going to show you another little video here a little bit later, just hours later, of Lady Lucy. And in this one, you're going to see she's quite spunky. She's quite confident. She kind of knows what she wants. She backs right up to get some more pets from Kate. And this is part of the reason I love purchasing horses from Kate and Jan, is they handle their horses a great deal right away. And you can see that Lucy's very mouthy, which is very common for horses because, of course, they want to explore their environment, and that mouth is important to connect with the mother's milk. So they use their mouth a lot to learn about the world. They're not being aggressive or mean or anything like that. They're just learning. But this little gal, she's got some spunk to her. And I like that because that means she's confident and curious. And those are exactly the kind of horses that will do very well. Those that won't react to and won't be fearful. You can see she's got a mind of her own already. This is going to be so much fun to bring her home in about 6 months. She will continue to nurse with her mother for about 6 months. And then we will bring her home and put her with her brother. And it's really going to be interesting to see how different their personalities are and how similar they are. I'm very hopeful that she has the same kind of calm, confident demeanor that Gentleman Jack's is showing us he has. This is the perfect kind of a pair for a pulling a wagon. You want a horse that's not going to overreact to lots of stimuli on the street and that will behave themselves confidently pulling a wagon. And I think these two probably are just going to be perfect pair. It'll also be fun to have another mare around. Lons is the only mare right now. Over the years, of course, Lons's mother lived here, so we had at least 2 mares, and then Lonza gave birth to 2 fillies. So at times we had 3 mares, and then for a while I boarded a horse for a friend of mine who had a mare. And so we had more mares around. I enjoy mares. But you can see this gal is going to be a lot of fun. I can tell you right now that Nicole's going to fall for Lady Lucy just like she did Gentleman Jack's. I'm losing my horses to Nicole. I see a comment from Terry. I do love mares, Terry. My first Tennessee walking horse was Annie, Lady Lonza's mother. And the only reason I didn't ride Annie is she became lame during a lightning storm. Yet again, lightning affects my life. She was running with a bunch of other horses during a lightning storm that produced huge balls of hail. And she became lame in one of her legs, and she just buckled under me twice while we were riding. I had her knee operated on, but she was never able to carry a rider after the second operation. But I think mares are terrific. They tend to be a little more determined than the geldings do. They can also have a mind of their own. You have to convince a mare it's her idea. Okay, so I thought in addition to looking at something about Lady Lucy, I'd catch you up on a couple of things about the ospreys. And that is the last couple days this week, We have had a series of strangers come by the osprey's nest. And I know some of you witnessed this at the time, but twice we had a banded osprey try to land on the nest, and try as I might to enlarge the view, I could not read the number of the band on the bird. And I would have loved to, because I know that one of our banded birds is in the area, and it's not uncommon for chicks to come back to their natal nest and check it out, but that doesn't mean the parents will accept it. This is Harriet, and you can see, I'm sorry we don't have audio yet, but you can see that she sees something coming and she doesn't like it. She's gonna ward it off. Now, if you look carefully, this bird is wearing two bands. One is silver and one is blue, and that blue band indicates that it was banded here in Western Montana. And unfortunately, I cannot tell the band name or number because it was faced away, even though I took stills. This is in slow motion, what I'm showing you now. But the slow motion also shows their beautiful wings. Aren't they magnificent? My goodness, I never tire of looking at films like this. That Harriet, she has stolen my heart. Look at her beautiful feathers. I have a couple of her feathers that fell off automatic on their own underneath the nest. Here comes the next morning. I think this is probably the same banded bird. It did another, really a flyby. And again, Harriet's telling it, go away, go away. Ospreys compete for nests, and for whatever reason, our nest has had a lot of competition. A lot of ospreys want to have this nest, but Harriet's, she's pretty fierce and determined in defending her nest. That's a really good question, Terry, about GPS-enabled bands. I don't think that they've done that. You have to put a collar on a bird for GPS, and that requires quite a bit more handling of the birds. You can't put a collar on a young bird because you can't recatch it to change it as it grows. So they put radio packs or collars on the adult birds, but that's very invasive. Now, this bird landed on the nest, and you can see that Harriet is trying to shoo it off, and Swoop is just kind of watching. Now, some people think that this bird is Harriet's previous mate, Hal. And Hal, I can't tell whether it is or not. I couldn't get a really good look at his face. It's certainly consistent with Hal's features, but I don't think we can be definitive as to whether this was Hal or not. But the fact that he actually landed also speaks of a bird that's familiar with the nest. Pretty soon, Swoop is going to jump down here. Yes, I love the MPG Ranch does put backpacks on their osprey, or at least they have. And they tracked that one of the birds from the MPG down to the Gulf of Mexico. And then I think it was Rapunzel made a trip all the way up into Alaska on its first trip back from the Gulf of Mexico as a youngster. But it's hard to catch an adult osprey, and it can be very traumatic for the adult osprey. So they avoid doing it very often. Plus, the backpacks are very expensive. So now we've got 3 on the nest. This bird that landed doesn't seem to want to leave, which again speaks to the fact that this could be a previous mate. I haven't read that, Celia, that females chase a female and the males chase a male. That's interesting. And this looks like a male to me because you don't see much of a necklace on it, but he certainly did run off more quickly now that Swoop got into the action. But again, look at those beautiful feathers. Aren't they magnificent? I'm not sure I love about whether they color the chicks. I think they did with Rapunzel. I think it was a chick that got the collar. It's actually a backpack. So I'll find out, and I'll try to get Rob Domnich over here for an interview sometime soon, and we can all ask him these kinds of questions. He's the guy. He really does a great job, and he's really fun to talk with. So I'll set that up for a future broadcast. I agree, Celia. Those osprey wings are just magnificent, aren't they? So let's take one more look at another short video that I put together some recent events, and that is I'm calling Swoop the dumpster diver because he insists on bringing junk to the nest. He brings junk that we don't want at the nest. And it's that junk that can be dangerous, in fact, to the chicks. We really love him. Of course we do. He's a magnificent fisherman, but look at this big plastic bag that he drags to the nest. That's no good. Now, fortunately, that's on the side of the nest, and the wind, since his bringing that, pushed it down onto the side of the nest. So it's not really in any danger right now. But where he gets this stuff, I do not know. And I don't think it's really plastic. I think it's landscape cloth. Yeah, he is a dumpster diver. I mean, this guy's a cheap guy. Hal used to bring potted plants. That was a little bit better, but Swoop brings horse apples and plastic bags. I don't know. The plastic bags have been a serious part of Swoop's additions to the nest over the years. And every year he gets to make us nervous about it. Now here he comes with another piece of material. And I think this is going to be far more dangerous than the black that he brought, because the black has already moved off the nest. But here he comes with something else that is not at all desirable. That looks like plastic to me, white plastic. And I think, you know, if we had our good camera operative, we could get in and see a little more detail of what that is, whether it's a cloth or it is plastic, but it looks like plastic. And look how close it is to the eggs. I don't like it there. I'm mad at Swoop for this. The chicks could get under it if it's plastic and could suffocate. They could get their little talons caught in it. It's just not a good idea, this kind of nonsense. Well, those are the only videos I have right now. So I will go back to the ranch camera and give a little tour here. Now, remember that because we're having to broadcast this through Zoom, it's a little bit jerky, and you'll see me doing the actual moving of the camera. This is not our usual way of doing things, but I'm so grateful to James for having figured some of these things out. We still haven't heard from our insurance company, but as soon as we do, we'll start putting things together again. But we can take a look at the back of the nest here. And see Harriet sitting on her perch up there, on her nest, her throne. There we go. And that, of course, is the new Lolo school behind it. And you can see the little birds are tending their own nests in the inside of the osprey's nest. That's a real feature of the osprey's nest. This may be as close as I can get. The hand tilt zoom aspects of the camera have been compromised by the lightning bolt. Yeah, here you can see the sparrows going in and out of the nest to their own nests. It's very cozy for them because Harriet keeps all the birds of prey like kestrels and hawks, etc., away while they have their young inside a Harriet's nest. Now you can see that piece of black material hanging on the other side of the nest is kind of hanging underneath it. Maybe we can get a better look at it. I don't know. But you can see, I don't think that's plastic. I think that's some kind of landscape cloth because you can see strings on the edge of it, fringe, which is not consistent with plastic. And that's good. We don't want plastic. I like this view of the nest and all the little birds coming and going. Quite the condominium going on up there. So I hope that our friends from Mayberry in Texas are with us. Maybe they could jump on the chat and say hello to us if they are there. We'd love to say hello back. Oh, thank you, Terry, for posting the link to bird backpacks. That'll probably tell us something about how they go about doing it. I'm hoping that somebody from Mayberry will get on a computer and say hello in the chat. We're hoping you're there with us today. And I also want to remind people that on Thursday at 2 o'clock, we're going to go ahead with our cup of conversation because Terry sent in this lovely poem that we're going to use as a conversation starter. So please come, everybody. I'll post the Zoom link in the calendar. You can click on the event and the Zoom link will be there, but we will also be broadcasting to everybody. I really appreciated Terry stepping forward and sending her beautiful poem from Emily Dickinson. This lightning strike has really made me understand how much I miss and rely on all of these cameras to enjoy all the area around here. I'm really sad about losing the river camera because the river is flooding and it's so much fun to watch what happens down there. During the flood stage on our property, we commonly see muskrats and turtles and other kinds of animals that we don't normally see. Thank you for joining us, Terry. Appreciated your being here. Boy, those sparrows are really busy up there, aren't they? Well, we should soon be watching for cracks in those eggs. Unfortunately, the camera's not close enough and cannot zoom in to really see much detail in the eggs, but I suspect that within the next 5 to 7 days, we will be seeing a chick come from one of those eggs. I think I love figured out the timing. Are you still there? I love, give us an estimated date, will you? Yes, you're right. I love. The heron does come up and hunt for those Columbia ground squirrels. And it's not a pretty process, is it? Those herons can be incredibly patient and stand over a squirrel hole for hours and eventually catch one and kill it. It's not fun to watch the killing, but it is remarkable. Just remarkable. They swallow them whole. Great blue herons are incredible birds. I wish they would take up creating a rookery around us, but I've never seen them nest here. I've seen them land in our trees, but never to make a nest. Yes, Memorial Day baby. So what do people think of my names of Snap, Crackle, and Pop for the three chicks? Are you guys okay with that? I haven't gotten any uh, feedback on the names that I've chosen, and I chose them because of the lightning, of course. I'll tell you, I am just so glad that the lightning did not strike the osprey's nest. That would have been such a tragedy. So egg number one will be 36 days next Friday. I love, that's perfect. It's always between 36 and about 44 days. And I think Harriet has averaged right around 40 days. Thank you for the feedback, Celia. People are asking me if I'm going to put up a lightning rod. And the answer is no, I'm not. And the reason is the damage from the lightning came through the ground, not because it actually hit the ranch pole. It hit probably in front of it, but it went right through the ground. And the damage came because we have wires underground to all of this various equipment, including to my personal computer, which got fried. So James, the first thing he did was get me another computer, and that's why my computer is now using broadcasting the Nest backup camera. It's doing double duty. So when I had to turn my computer off this afternoon because of a glitch, it brought the Nest backup broadcast down with it. I had no idea myself, just all that was involved in the complexity of the broadcasting network that James, with some help from Ken, I'm sure people remember Ken. put together. It's just amazing what these guys have done. Hey, Mayberry, thank you for chiming in. We really appreciate your being here with us. Let us know if you have any questions. Well, welcome to the party, Mayberry. Oh, this coming Friday is the 27th. The 27th is the 36th day from the first egg laid. Is that correct, I love? I love is our data keeper and historian. I rely on I love and Celia to point me in the right direction. These two can find anything around here. They've been our camera operators for a long time and they're really good at it. And I miss them being on the cameras right now, but we'll get you back up and running as soon as we get back up and running. This nest has been through a lot of modifications since we moved it to this pole. And I know some of you remember that are doing these modifications. First, the nest was moved to the pole. And I think the next thing we did, and we had the first web camera, which was really about the same as our Nest backup camera right now. It did not have the pan, tilt, zoom capabilities that our later cameras had. In fact, it was a borrowed camera. And the next year we bought our own camera, kind of top of the line, so that we could really have some fun with it. And then in a couple years after that, we put the perch on the nest. And I remember all of us were kind of nervous about whether the perch, which I really like, by the way, would deter the birds from taking over the nest again, but it did not. They like the perch, and it's just been a joy to see the birds eat on the perch. And when the chicks start to fly, their first flight is from the nest to the perch, and we've had as many as 4 birds on the perch at one time. I remember one time a chick knocked Harriet off the perch while it tried to land. It's been a really great addition. And then the nest started to tilt. You can see the platform on the bottom of the nest, and it started to sort of tilt. And I thought we better stabilize that thing or it's going to come down. So interestingly enough, the nest is not really on top of the major pole. It's on its own little pole that is attached. You can see that right here. Here is the top of the pole, which is about 57 feet. And then here is this 2x6 that holds up the rest of the nest. And it started to list. So I had another person come out and add these supports, these metal supports, so that it could keep the nest level. And then just a year or so ago, I asked James to remove part of the nest because it was getting so big that it was getting difficult to look into the nest from the web camera. It was, they were basically building a nest to the sky. So it's a lot smaller than it was even just a couple years ago. But none of these changes, none of the building of the school, none of this has deterred these birds from coming back and taking possession of their nest. What a wonderful gift this is to us. I can't believe I get to live here next to these marvelous birds and that I get to enjoy it all with all of you. Brings me great pleasure. Okay, I love this is really good information you're providing us. Egg number 2 will be 36 days on the 30th and egg number 3 on the 2nd of June. That's terrific to know these things. You know, I didn't see Harriet doing much of a delayed incubation this year. Sometimes when she has an egg, she won't incubate it right away until the second or third eggs come, and so and some of the chicks are born one right after the other. In fact, I think one year, and it might have been Pip, Hip, and Array, were born within like 30 hours of each other, just right away, boom, boom, boom. But I think these eggs will hatch days apart. Yes, I remember that, Celia. The Northwest Energy brought out another platform, a big round end of a spool for cable, and said I could use that as a nest platform. But I didn't want to take the nest down. I wanted to keep the original nest. So I got Tamar's husband to come out and put those supports on. And I don't know if you remember, but we got one of the pieces of equipment stuck, and we had one of our members who was a fellow former logger in British Columbia was watching and made just the right suggestion as to how to get us unstuck. That was a really collaborative effort with him, that whole thing. It was fun. Well, unless I have any other questions or comments, I guess I'll say goodbye for today and remind everybody, please come on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Bring your cup for conversation, a cup of coffee, tea, ice water, lemonade, whiskey or wine, doesn't matter, but I'd like you to tell us about your cup and what it means to you. And then we'll have a conversation about Emily Dickinson's poem called Hope. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you again then. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you all very much for coming.